hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is Dr. Jan with the Relationship Matters TV show. I hope everyone is having a beautiful, 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 blessed morning, afternoon, or wherever you are in the world. Well, we are here right outside of Chicago, and the weather has been, I guess, maybe probably like this across the nation, up and down, up and down. One day it's snowing, the next day it's 60, the next day it's 70. So this weekend they say maybe 70, but then by Monday it's back down, to 30. But we're just happy that we are here. So now, before I bring on my guest, I want to show you something. Last Thursday, in my last show, I had a guest on my show, and her name was Rose. Her name is Rose Chastain. And Rose Chastain was my first business coach. And I think I met her in 2017, but we've always kept in contact. And what she did, you know what I'm going to say? I commissioned her to do a painting for me. And the way she paints, it's not, here it is right here. It's not a portrait, but it is what she sees, what she's an intuitive coach. And so when she paints oil paintings and of course also watercolor, but when she paints, she senses things, she receives things, and this is how she portrays people. And this is how she portrays me. And I'll have to give you, when I have the time, because I'm going to have it here in the background all the time, how she sees me. It was amazing to me, and it was not how I saw myself, but how she saw me. So on my next show, I'm going to read everything that she has said about how she sees me. And I started thinking about, this is the Relationship Matters TV show. It's all about relationships. How do people see you? What is your relationship with them? You have a relationship with yourself, but do you see yourself the way others see you? It was a shock to me, really, that she didn't see me like I saw me. But then when I explained to other people, they said, oh, yeah, she's got you down pat. I still don't understand. But anyway, that's that. I am going to bring a guest on that I have known for a while. She's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman. So let me tell you a little about her before I bring her on. Her name is Lynn Sanders, and she is a story empowerment coach. She is a passionate storyteller. She is a best-selling author, an award-winning writer, a media host, and she is the founder and CEO of Difference Makers Media. Let me tell you about her mission. Her mission is to shine a light on those making the world a better place, one story at a time. And we're going to get into that. And her vision is to inspire, uplift, and transform lives through storytelling that makes a positive difference. So through her unique blend of strategic story coaching, let me tell you what she has done. She has helped her clients attract a six-figure donation. She really does a lot with nonprofits. Let me tell you about her credits. When I grow up, I want to be like her. Her credits include a nationally award-winning Telly Award for her patient safety film, writing awards, 3 children's books, creating legacy videos and memoirs, and serving as a Blue Ribbon ambassador. And she made my hometown, Chicago, the third Blue Ribbon city in the world. So without further ado, as they say, I want to bring on to you Lynn Sanders. Hello, Lynn.
Hello, Dr. Jan, and hello, everyone. I'm so honored to be here.
And I am really honored to have you here. And we have a guest already. She says, hello, everyone. She said, this weather is bipolar. Thank you, Maxine Walker. So, Lynn, you are a story empowerment coach. What is that?
I help people understand their value and communicate their stories in a way that will help them attract the ideal clients and also help them recognize they make a difference. So, most of us walk around, and you mentioned earlier how you didn't see yourself as the artist saw you. And I think most of us walk around not valuing ourselves or really stepping into our power. So I love helping people recognize how they make a difference, that they do make a difference, and how to use words and craft them in a way that is compelling and that helps people sit up and take notice and want to engage with them.
Wow. So, what made you decide that you wanted to do this?
Well, I've always loved stories. And I want to let people know that we choose our stories every day. Things can happen to us. Like you mentioned about the weather, you don't have control over it, but we get to choose our thoughts. And I grew up in a home, the oldest of 4 kids, where my father became a psychiatrist. And so he was always analyzing us. My mom was a Hebrew school and Sunday school teacher. So I got the spiritual element with my dad's psychiatric touch. And I always loved stories. So I also loved helping people tell their stories from when I was young. I was on the newspaper staff in high school, the feature news editor. I wrote poetry since I was little. And when I went to college, I actually majored in music and still did teaching. And I ended up eventually, after doing some teaching at a commercial music company, where I wrote live trade shows for Fortune 500 companies like Johnson Johnson, Keebler, Reynolds Aluminum, Boyne, Haynes, as well as commercials and lyrics. And I learned from that experience how to write with a marketing focus. Because if you've ever been to a trade show, people walk by your booth. So
Yeah.
the show was to get people to stop in the aisles and listen to a little mini musical show that promoted a company's products or services in an entertaining and memorable way. And my claim to fame, since you're from Chicago, and I am as well, is writing the WGN TV lyrics, Chicago's very own Channel 9 with Lou Rawls. And I got his autograph and everything. But really, what happened was I was doing freelance writing after the music company. And after a number of years, I found that some projects I liked better than others. I was just going through the motions, writing for different companies like Echo USA, the world's largest office supply manufacturer, writing about paper clips and staplers and binders, and I wasn't excited. Or and they're good companies, Molex. I was writing training videos about how to put input and output connectors together, and it wasn't touching my heart.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I had 3 very special people who suddenly passed away at the end of 2004. One being a best friend from high school, then 6 weeks later, my mother, and then about 10 days later, my boss at the music company.
Mm.
And it made me just stop and think, what do I want to do with my life? We only have so much time. And it was then that I realized that I wanted to honor my mother's memory and live fully, because I had actually had a severe back problem after my mom's passing, and I didn't know if I wanted to continue. I just was devastated.
Mhm.
And the healer said, You can be alive on the outside and dead on the inside.
Yeah.
And he asked me, how do I choose to live? And I recognize that, we all go through ups and downs. And yet, if I could choose to live fully, I can help others, inspire them to see their brilliance. Oh, so anyway, that was my turning point. And after that, I
You heard
started
the voice. She was
make
sneezing.
that's okay. But so that's my story. Since then, I've done all types of writing and consulting and video marketing and promotion to shine a light on people making a difference. Especially because, as I'm sure, well aware, our media is primarily negative all the time.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, and it brings us all down. We're surrounded by
Yeah.
this negative energy. You are positive energy, and I can feel it across the screen,
Well,
as I'm
thank
sure your viewers can. And I think our world needs that. I know it needs that.
So, okay, now, so you talk with people, and how do you get them to really tell their story? I mean, give you the essence of them. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, I just like in any project, I want to find out what their goal is. So I can work for companies like Westside Health Authority in Chicago, a nonprofit, and I was a publicity consultant for 4 years. So I would sit and listen to all the stories from the different departments. I picked which I thought were the top two, and I consulted with the executive director, and she would agree usually. And then I would write the stories, interview people, and send it out to the media. So when I'm working one-to-one with an entrepreneur, I want to find out what their goal is, and then from there, whether it's products or services or um, what they want their message to be, because we all have different stories, and then
Mhm.
we focus on different stories that can help them make a bigger difference. We have our pitch story when we first introduce ourselves, and we
Yeah.
have a promotional story, educational, and some people want a longer legacy piece, which I've done and love. Like for your family, telling people all about your life. So it doesn't have to be business all the time. It depends
Mhm.
on what someone wants.
Wow. So have you run across someone that said, okay, I really, want to write my story, but they have a difficult time?
Yes. So you know what
How do you bring it out?
how do you do that? So
Yeah.
what I found is most people are comfortable in speaking what's on their mind. You're just, what, you're not reading every word, right? I'm
Right.
not reading every word. So in a sense, we're all improvising as we speak. We just talk from our heart. So what I found helpful for people who don't want to face the blank page is I interview them like we're doing here, but it's private interview, and I have a transcript made, because when we speak, the words can be recorded separately, on the screen, and then I
Mhm.
go through the transcripts and create their story from their video interviews, which makes it easier because they're just speaking from their heart. I ask them different questions about their life and, favorite memories, whatever it might be. And then we put that together in a book if that's what they want. So it really depends. And then there are video stories where companies have a very specific focus of what they want to, promote. And so that's when we hone in on that, that service or product. I
Okay.
brought along with me to show you a couple book
Yeah,
covers if you
please
like.
do.
So
Please
I
do.
don't have all the. So I've written 3 children's books, and
Mhm.
I have written also the preface and epilogue to a memoir that was by a dear friend of mine, Roland Takaoka, who passed away from a fourth stroke without ever having published his book. So I did crowdfunding for his story as well as 2 other books, and I'm also in another anthology book. Um, so I think the most important thing for people to remember is that everyone here listening makes a difference. And you get to choose what kind of difference you want to make. So you don't have to listen to the negative thoughts that are going in your head, like, I'm not good enough, I could never do that. You're telling yourself negatives when you say that, and then it stops you. My first children's book was actually a work for hire. I own no royalties. I was commissioned by Capstone Press, which is a book publishing company, and they were doing a 4-part series on justice,
Huh.
political justice, environmentalism, animal rights, and social justice. So I got to write about, I don't have that cover with me, social justice, how you can make a difference. And it's a nonfiction book for kids ages 8 to 12 that has the steps they need to take to create their own nonprofit with profiles of about 5 different kids who have made a difference through their nonprofit. And it was,
Really?
yeah, it was a wonderful research. And they just paid me a flat fee, and I did the work, and we wrote everything that was put together by Capstone. So it's out there. And then
So
20,
wait a minute. Now you ran past that.
okay, yeah.
So is that book on Amazon or?
It's on Amazon. It's called Social Justice, How You Can
Why
Make a
didn't
Difference.
you tell me that first, Lynn? I could have had the cover.
We are temporarily in California, and I don't have the book with me right now.
Okay.
I do have it, so I could send it to you later. I have the image of the cover in my computer.
Okay.
Uh, so it's a how to do it. Kids, you'd be surprised. Children don't think about their limits as much. They just say, let's go out and, like this one little 4 or 6-year-old child decided she was going to create a lemonade stand to raise money for cancer. And she didn't think about, well, will I make enough money? She just did it and raised money. And the same thing with each of these kids. So I thought in my early days, I need to wait for a publishing company to say, yes, Lynn, you can publish this book and we will do it for you. Well, anyone is out there who has tried publishing with traditional companies will
Yeah.
know that if you don't have an agent, you're in a slush pile
Right.
and you have to wait for at least a year. And nowadays, they don't even give you a rejection notice. You just don't hear from them.
Don't hear from them. Right.
That's it. So years can go by and your story doesn't get published. And what happened to me was after I wrote Social Justice, How You Can Make a Difference, I had a story in my heart. I had heard this story on a video shoot at the International Crane Foundation in Baraboo, Wisconsin. It's the only place in the world that's saving all 15 species of cranes. Those are the large birds,
I didn't know
the
there were a bunch of species of
yeah,
crane.
15, and it's in Baraboo, and it's a wonderful place. So Amoco was sponsoring a whooping crane exhibit. They donated money to the International Crane Foundation, and they wanted to document this for their international marketing managers to show them they were doing good for the environment. So they hired the videographer who hired me to be the script writer and interview Dr. George Archibald, co-founder of the International Crane Foundation, and all the different Amoco executives and capture all the images there. And it's a magical place. I mean, it really is. So off camera, you never know when you're going to hear a story. Off camera, Dr. George Archibald said to me, very offhandedly, I used to be friends with the rare whooping crane. Oh, really? And we danced together for 6 years. I said, really? Come on. Right, 6 years.
Right.
Yeah, I did. Every spring we danced together because the whooping cranes were on the verge of extinction and they need to do a mating dance before they lay a fertile egg. But this bird's brain was imprinted on a zookeeper. She was raised in her first 14 days by a zookeeper. So she thought she belonged with people, not birds.
Okay.
She wouldn't hang out with any other bird, just with people, especially men, because she was around a male zookeeper. So George thought, well, if she likes people, maybe she would identify with me. He knew how the whooping cranes dance, flapping their wings. So he moved his bed, desk, and chair into her shed. And they did involve scientists with artificial insemination, but I don't say it that way in this book. And he danced with her, and it took time, just like if someone's trying to conceive a baby and they're older, they don't, right away have a child. But he didn't give up. And I thought, this is a most interesting story. I think kids would love to hear about a man who danced with birds. So it took me a long time. I had a publishing company who wanted to publish it. I sent it off, I sent out a query letter to different companies and agents, and then they ran out of money. So I thought, what do I do? And I just put it in my file thinking, someday I'll get this published. And there's no day of the week called someday. There's no someday. And so one day my son said something that pushed me forward. He said, Mom, why don't you just forget that story and move on? You've had it in your file a long time. And that was Andrew. And meanwhile, my older son, Jordan, was going on a kayaking trip and raising money to cover the funds to do photography in this kayaking trip. And he was raising money. So Jordan said, why don't you do crowdfunding, Mom, to raise the money to publish your book? Because you have to have an illustrator and have it formatted and published. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And voila, dancing with friendship to save
dancing with text. Oh, wow.
So Tex is the name of the rare bird because she was born in Texas. And at the back of the book, I had permission to show the photograph of the real man, George, dancing with Tex, the rare bird.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that neat?
Yes.
And it showed me that if you dream, you can make anything happen if you believe in your dreams. And in between that and my other children's book, my very dear friend Roland, who was my wingman for my video interviews I was doing, he had written a story about his journey of transformation in the hospital rehab after a third stroke had left him paralyzed on the right side. So imagine being in a hospital and typing with just one hand. It's not your regular hand to work with, your left hand, while you're recuperating from a third stroke. But he wrote an amazing book because his life was transformed by a physical therapist. I had his manuscript in my computer, and all of a sudden, August 23rd, 2018, he passed away from a fourth stroke.
Oh.
And I thought, I've got to get his story published. So I went through the same thing of crowdfunding and published Roland's story, inspired a memoir of hope, healing, and transformation. And an unusual story happened on the day of his passing. So I would imagine you're a spiritual person, Dr. Jan. I just feel it. And people who are listening here are probably attracted to that spiritual energy. So on the day of his passing, I was very upset. And I went to one of my best friend's homes and I just said, can I just be with you, just have someone to sit with? And I thought I would call my husband. So she didn't have good cell phone reception. So I went outside on the sidewalk and picked up my cell phone to call my husband. And I looked at my left wrist and I saw something black just sitting on my wrist. I thought maybe it was a piece of plastic or something. It was a black butterfly with a gold stripe just sitting on my wrist.
Okay.
And nothing like that has ever happened to me before or since. And I knew it was a sign from Roland, who had been paralyzed, who couldn't walk, that he was okay. He was free. His body, I'm getting goosebumps, so I know it's him. I know our spirit lives on. He was free and he wanted to know he was with me.
Wow.
So I wrote about that. It's the preface for Roland's story, because he said he wasn't going to leave. And then I was mad. He was leaving me, but no, he's with me, and with our loved ones, I feel, are with us too. And then just recently, last March, I published another story that is really to inspire children to have compassion, unity, and understand their value. And it's called Adventures in Ecuador, Diary of a Volunteer. And this is based on our family's true healthcare adventures in Ecuador with another nonprofit, Causes for Change International, to provide free healthcare for kids in need. And my husband was the volunteer dentist. I was the volunteer music entertainer in the 90-degree heat while the kids got their first ever extraction or dental exam. And our son Andrew was the toothbrushing teacher. They had no toothbrushes. They just ate candy and their teeth were all rotting. So he would give them toothbrushes and teach them. And at the back of the book, there are Spanish phrases and there are photographs. I don't think you could see it from our trip, So it's really to let kids know that whatever they do, especially volunteering, they can make a difference. And that's what I'm all about, to help people get their stories out that are positive so that we can let others know that we can make a difference together.
Wow, that is so wonderful what you do.
Oh,
Because
thank
I think, well, like you said, everybody has a story.
you. Right.
And 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 we don't know, how to get our story out often. But okay, evolution of the heart with Bill and Patricia. Hello.
Oh, Patricia, I just met Patricia. It's so good of you to come here. Thank you.
And she says she loves this. Thank you for sharing with all of us. So great to sit beside you.
Oh, thank
Oh
you,
my goodness.
Patricia. It's so nice.
Oh, and
I want,
wait a
so, I
minute.
just wanted, oh, another,
Yeah,
yes,
Jacqueline Rogers says our children, oh yeah, are being raised by negative social media.
right. That's why I think we all need to take action here and bring out positive stories in any way we can, whether we're interacting personally at home to publicly. In fact, I was going to add that I have a I have to do a lot of collaborations. I have an opportunity if you need help to write your story and want to be an anthology. I'm collaborating with another woman from Women's Prosperity Network that Dr. Jan probably knows, and Peggy Johansson. And she has a whole 3-month program of helping people with templated um, guidelines to write your story. And I'm going to help with editing stories. And what we're going to do, which is in this Ecuador book, is we're going to do an interview with each author and put the QR code at the back of the chapter so people can not only read your story, but they can click on the QR code and hear you talking about the background of how you got to what you're doing, and you get an audio book. Isn't that great?
Oh wow. Yes.
So
My goodness. Wow.
you can contact me afterwards and we can, share it. But I'm just feeling like we all need so much to get out our stories and then have it, this can be marketed to a bestseller status so more people will hear about
Oh my goodness. My goodness. That
it.
when I'm thinking, I'm part of a collaboration where we talked about our story, and it's from how we grew up, and all the way up to why we're doing what we're doing today.
Right.
What impact our young lives had on us, so that we it shows in people's services and their products, and just kind of like who they are. So I'm going to ask, I've got to take a quick break. And this is what I want to ask. No, I'm not. I'm going to ask you when I come back.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. And I just want to show you something here. This is what I was going to show you this. But anyway, I am a relationship communications coach. And what you see is what I say. I love the relationships I have in my life today, but it wasn't always that way. So if you would like to navigate the challenges in your relationships, you can contact me at Dr. Jan at drjanisfortman.com. That's Dr. Jan at drjanisfortman.com. Now, this is what I really wanted to show you. This weekend, Limitless for Women, Wealth, Wellness, and Purpose. There are speakers on health and wellness, speakers on mindset and leadership, finance, marketing and branding, and relationships. I will be on a relationship panel, and what I will do is give you a URL where you can click on it and you can attend. It's on Saturday from 9 to 5. And there are some wonderful, wonderful women who are on. And so I think that's it. I want to get right back to Lynn, but I do have one more commercial. All right, that is my book, The Secrets to How Not to Throw Mama from the Train. It's all about how to navigate the challenges in the adult daughter aging mother relationship. And it is available Kindle and hardback on Amazon.com. All righty, let's bring Lynn back. Now, someone put a comment in right before we left. So I'm going to put her comment in before I ask you my question. And Maxine Walker said, yes, it's a good feeling when you help someone with anything they're going through in their lives. And that is the truth. So, Lynn, have you written your story?
I have written a chapter of it in an anthology. I haven't written it as a separate book. And certainly I could write more. I'm so used to helping others with their stories that I haven't written as much. But I do a blog. I have a differencemakersmedia.com as my website where I give a free story guide out, and I do post blogs. So I have bits and pieces of my stories, and I would love to, certainly put out more. But I also want to help people whose stories are hidden that make a difference. I wanted to share why I'm so propelled to tell stories. And part of that, besides the fact that we're bombarded with negative media, and I feel we need to uplift humanity with positive stories, was my mom passed very suddenly from a heart attack at age 73. And I only have one 8-minute professional video of her that was done for a client project. I put the link in this chat. And it was for a Macmillan Publishing. They were doing history books, and they wanted to have little video snippets to get kids interested in learning about history. And I was one of the writers, and I said, I was asked to write about the Depression. I said, why don't we get my parents on camera, and they could tell their stories about the Depression, and then we would interweave it with historic footage that happened during the Depression. So I used to watch those 8 minutes over and over, and I would cry when I'd see my mom at the end.
Yeah.
I only had that little piece, and she was explaining why she named me Lynn and how her uncle had helped the family pay for the rent money. His name was Uncle Lou. And so she knew that when she had a child, she wanted to name the child with an L. So when I was born, I was named after Uncle Lou, who saved her parents, with paying the rent. So every story, even if it seems like it's not that important, really does touch lives. And I could certainly write more. I'm in a book called Gifts of the Universe, Women That Lead. And it was published a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I'm focused really on helping get out more stories from other hidden leaders, from leaders all around us who are doing good deeds and need to be acknowledged, and
Okay.
also up, and they can touch lives as well. It's a ripple effect, you know.
Right. Right. Okay. So a text just came in here. It says, what has been your biggest challenge that you have faced when trying to help one of your clients?
That's a good one. Let me think. Well, I think I think really one of the biggest challenges is helping people move forward and believing in themselves that their work is good enough. So I had worked with one client for 7 months actually, where we were going. It takes time, but we were going back and forth, making changes upon changes upon changes. And what I learned in writing stories and revisions is just work on your chapter. You can make one revision and keep moving on so you get something finished. And ultimately, I ended up connecting her with another colleague of mine who's an editor to continue on because it was taking a long time. But typically, what I do is I help people move forward. So, probably the biggest challenge would be in letting people recognize that whatever they've done, we can tweak it. And I usually include revisions in everything I do, but
Mm-hmm.
let's keep moving forward because
Okay.
I think we're all faced with this good enough syndrome where we
Right.
feel like, oh, I don't know if it's good enough. And it is good enough. A friend of mine once said, she was a speaker, Lynn, you can be perfect or you can have a perfect nothing. Just going.
I like that.
It's better to fall forward. You've probably heard that saying.
Right. Right. Oh, okay. So normally, let's say average time. What's the average amount of time that you spend with a person who wants to write their personal story?
Right. So I've spent anywhere from this program that I'm offering now with the anthology is about a 3 month process of
Okay.
writing the story. It's a chapter, so it doesn't have to feel as intimidating as writing the whole book, you know. But easily
Okay.
you could spend a year writing a story or longer if you just put it on hold, like I did with my Dancing with Text story, the 20-year journey. So because I rewrote it a million times, I'd say about 3 to 6 months. And then the publishing process takes time. You need to format a book, you need a book cover. If it's a children's book, the illustrator is someone you want to be, carefully working with to get out your ideas into a visual format. And so I would give it a year, or 6 to 9 months with the publishing part. So from start to finish could be a year. The difference between self-publishing versus traditional publishing is you could be waiting a year and find out that your manuscript was never accepted. So at least if you start on the journey and you're self-publishing, you have control over it, and you can also get royalties versus typically traditional publishing companies. They may take all the royalty, or they give you a small percent, like 5 or 10%.
Okay. Sandy Barney Ennis. I guess she says like a ghostwriter. Um,
What does she mean?
okay,
Uh,
Sandy, would you yeah, or refer back to what you were? It came in a little late, so maybe Lynn was talking about something.
well, I think a ghostwriter is where you're doing all the writing, and I haven't done that. I mean, so I
Oh, okay.
collaborate. So either, well, and maybe in a sense it's a ghost. When I wrote these children's books, I was writing the whole thing. And
Okay.
I actually wasn't paid by the companies. I raised the money to self-publish these books, which are actually shining a light on nonprofits. And I realized I can't keep doing that. Imagine you're putting all your time, money, and effort into writing a story, which people do, and you're shining a light on another company, but they don't pay anything.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, I don't know if it was ghostwriting, because ghostwriting means you don't take any credit. So I haven't done it that way. I've either written stories and I have written for clients, and they can put me, in the credits, edited by,
Mm-hmm.
um, or I've written the book on my own, or I help people tell their own story, and sometimes it's a video story. So I've done a lot, like you're doing right now, Jan.
Yeah.
Um, I've done video stories. And what's great about video, as you probably know, is there are, I think it's at least over 1 billion hits a day on YouTube. People are searching for stories and information on video.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided I like to combine having a QR code and video
Yeah.
with the book.
With the person's voice.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Right. Okay. Give me some ideas. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
good.
Another text came in. Did you have a mentor who helped you so that you could help others?
Oh, beautiful. Actually, I've had a lot of mentors. I continue having people who are my coach. I think we all could use help, a guiding hand, because it's difficult when you're on your own. So I've had mentors at all different stages. I was once at a conference, and this man illustrated the power of mentorship by saying, "Let's say I want to get out of this room," and he walked towards the wall and he hit the wall. And he said, "Well, imagine you don't know how to get out. You need someone to guide you to the door." So yes, I have had mentors. I love learning from different people, and that gives me also more I can offer others.
Okay. All righty. So what I want to say is for the people who are watching, especially the ones that's in the chat, that if you never thought of writing your story, so to speak, especially as a legacy to leave your children or your grandchildren, I think that would be great because
It's priceless.
right. Or if you like, so this is, I'm just thinking.
Sure,
I know
sure.
I used to just really talk to my mom, and I just would like to start writing what she said, how she grew up.
Yes,
And I mean, I have the memories of it, but how she grew up, when she went to school, where she went to school, some of the things that she said, some of the things that she taught me, stuff like that. And then when you think about your own story that you really never thought about writing, that your kids or whoever will read it or watch it, listen to it, and really find out who you are.
yes. There's a poem about that called "The Dash." Have you ever heard of that?
Uh-uh.
So on
It's,
a tombstone, you always see the birth date and the death date, but what's most important is that dash between the birth and the death. And what you're talking about is so precious. Like that 8-minute video I have with my mother and father, it's more precious than gold because you could never get it back. You could never
right.
get to hear and see a loved one once they're gone. I would highly recommend that you capture your memories, and everyone listening, whether you have parents alive or it's your own stories, I recommend highly writing them down because you'll be able to pass it on to your future generation and they'll get to really know who you are, that dash, just not a birth date and a death date. And that's so precious so that you can, let your children, grandchildren learn from what you've learned,
Yeah,
you know?
right. So I want to bring up something a little different. Reverend Clyde Brooks.
Yes, my dear
Okay,
friend.
yes. I want you to tell people who he is.
Okay, yes. And I've talked to him about writing his story. We've gone back and forth. So, Reverend Clyde Brooks was a friend of Dr. Martin Luther King and marched with him, and he used to pick him up at the airport and transport him and his wife and family around. And when he suddenly was killed, um, Reverend Clyde Brooks decided he would keep his memory alive to raise more awareness about diversity, equity, inclusion by having a yearly dinner called the Dr. King um, Remembrance Dinner. And he would have speakers come in, famous people like Jesse Jackson and mayors and all kinds of people. Reverend Brooks is nearing 90 right now. He just had the 55th annual Dr. King dinner. He has gone through near death experiences himself. and his beautiful, beloved daughter also had passed away a few years ago. And I've known him through business for many years, and we've been friends. And so he asked me if I would help promote his event, and you were able to come and meet him. Um, so what he wants to do is inspire others, not just to remember someone's passing, but to inspire people to take action and speak up for justice. Like Dr. King said, we have a dream. Let's make that dream alive. Um, but sometimes when we all go through our own hardships, it's hard to keep believing, keep doing what we want to do. So I helped Dr. King, Reverend Brooks, but Dr. King too, get his story out. I wrote articles that were published about him, about Reverend Brooks, with his pictures. I went to his home and interviewed him in Mount Prospect. And then we did little video shorts. So I took the video interview and made it into clips so people could watch short videos. They would get over 700 views. That was very exciting. And then I ultimately helped him get more people to come to the event. That was his end goal, to inspire people. So he is a leader, and we have talked about getting his story out. We haven't come to a final agreement on how we're going to do this, but
Okay.
it would be great to have it out there.
Yeah, I met him, people, and he is sharp as a tack. We had such a lively conversation, and it was like, oh my God, but they have that every year. Dr. Martin Luther King Remembrance Dinner, and
Right.
it's a fundraiser. And to meet him, I met history. Um, Marcy Hill says, I started drafting essays on my blessed life. I started it during the pandemic and still do it as different aspects of my life come to mind.
I have a question for Marcy.
Okay.
So, Marcy, have you thought about putting out some of your essays or even fragments to the public, whether it be in a little blog, an article, or even putting yourself on camera, which I know is not always easy because you feel vulnerable, but even sharing like a minute about what you've learned that you want to help others recognize, because I'm sure if you're tuning in here, you're someone who is a very caring, loving person, because like energy attracts like. So Dr. Jan brings those like-minded people together. And I'd say I would recommend that you put out your messages on social media and on a blog or on videos so you can touch other people's lives too. Don't hide it all.
Okay, Marcy.
My recommendation.
That's her recommendation. Have you thought about that, Marcy? So you can put it in the chat. Yes, no, maybe so, maybe whatever. I'll be waiting. We'll be waiting. Okay, something. Okay, okay. Here's really great question. It's a good question for us to kind of come to a close on. What advice would you give someone to help them on the path to help someone else, especially the way the world is today?
Beautiful. So do you want me to go first?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, not me. But
Oh,
wait.
okay. Okay.
Jacqueline Rogers says, "Do you journal?" Maybe she's asking that.
Yeah. So Jacqueline, I want to give you all a tip here that when we're in the midst of tumultuous activity and an upheaval, and we're in an unbelievably stressful period, what can we do? We can't necessarily change someone else's behavior. We only have ourselves. So what I do, there's a movie I found. I was led to this on Amazon Prime, and it's a best-selling book called The Miracle Morning, and it's also an app. And I do 6 different spiritual practices. It doesn't matter what religion you are, but The Miracle Morning is a story of a man who survived 2 near-death experiences. Hal Elrod, from a near-fatal car crash, and from leukemia. And in between those 2 incidences that could have ended his life, a friend suggested he go jogging to feel better. He was depressed, and he recognized that he felt better after exercising. So he Googled, what do successful people do to stay happy? He found 6 practices, and his wife recommended he create an acronym. And that acronym is SAVERS, SAVERS, which are silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. That's journaling. So every morning when I get up, it's a discipline. I focus on doing at least 3 to 4 of those 6. I try to do all 6. But I feel it helps give me a little protective coat of armor for myself to stay calm in the midst of chaos. Because if we stay calm, we are all energy beings right now. We're radiating energy. We stay calm, we could touch other people's lives with that, rather than being at a frenetic state ourselves. And from that calmness, we can do more.
Okay,
I hope that helps you.
So it's called the Miracle Morning.
It's called the Mirror, and it's a whole community. There are millions of people around the world. TheMiracleMorning.com. I'm not being paid for this, you know.
Okay.
And it's a book. I have it in my bookcase, and it's a practice of doing 6 different self-development exercises. Silence is meditation, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. You can do 1 minute each. You decide how much time. I usually spend about an hour. And the idea of the Miracle Morning is you get up earlier in the morning than you normally would do, so you'll have time to do this. So if you're used to getting up at 7, you get up at 6 or 6:30 to give yourself that time.
Okay. Okay. TheMiracleMorning.com. I put 2 dots in there. I was typing, but that's the entering, not typing.
And I would also invite people to feel comfortable to connect with me at differencemakersmedia.com. You can get my free story guide, 7 keys to building your business with your story. And I would invite you to have a complimentary story strategy session with me, whether it's about your personal story or business story. I'm very committed to helping people get positive stories out into the world. So that's my gift to you as well.
I'm going to take advantage of that gift, people.
Good.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for being my guest, and I really, really hope that people will take advantage and get in contact with you and write or read or video or whatever their stories, because everybody's story is important. And believe it or not, people want to know your story. People want to hear your story. And I know Marcy. So therefore, Marcy, I'll be looking for you. You didn't respond when she.
I would like to add one thing, Dr. Jen, to remember this. And Jane Goodall had actually said it, and I also maybe have changed it a bit, but she said, we all make a difference. We get to choose what kind of difference we want to make. And so I had, let's make it a good one. We all make a difference. We get to choose what kind of difference we want to make. Make it a good one.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
So you have a beautiful, blessed rest of your evening out there in sunny California.
Thank you.
All right.
See you when we get back. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, this was great. This was great. Makes me really think about writing my story. Really writing my mother's story more so than I think I want to start with that story first. So I really hope that you all who are watching, listening, that you think about writing your story and making a difference in your story. So I will see you again next week. And my guest next week is Dr. Forrest Jones. I have known Dr. Forrest Jones. As a matter of fact, he was my doctor. But he's going to talk about how what he's really doing is talking with doctors about how to talk with their patients. It's all about relationships because sometimes doctors forget and just talk with you about your ailments or what they're going to do with you. But we're going to talk about what kind of relationship do you have with your doctors. So I will see you again next week. Remember, there are all kinds of relationships and all kinds of relationship matters. Life is about relationships. So I'll see you again next week. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you. All righty. Bye bye.